responds on that level. He'll talk to you. He'll give you answers. He'll tell you what to say. And you won't know in the beginning why he's guiding you in a particular way. But if you follow it, you'll see that it always works out better than if you had followed your own thoughts, your own reasoning. Because our reasoning is always limited, it's always imperfect, there's always some mistake. At the very least, we're not aware of the whole situation. We can see from our point of view what's going on, but Krishna can see from every point of view what's going on. So his advice is always superior, it's always perfect, it's always more practical actually in the long run. So we have to learn how to be flexible. We have to learn how to surrender, not just once, but at every moment, to Krishna's advice, Krishna's influence, Krishna's direction. He'll tell us, what vitamins we should take in the morning. He'll tell us anything we need to know to serve him. So the more that we engage in his service, the more of ourselves that we surrender to his purposes, then the more his guidance will be revealed to us, and the less we'll have to rely on our own imperfect intelligence. So, any further question about this or about anything else?
What are the steps to eliminate an offensive thought? Try not to think of it. Think of it in some particular way.
Yeah, try not to think of an elephant. You see, as soon as you try not to think of something, then immediately you have to think of it. This is the problem with the mind. But higher than the mind is the intelligence. And higher than the intelligence is the soul. Krishna describes this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So the way to control the mind is not by force, but by leading the mind with the intelligence. And the way to control the intelligence is similarly by leading it with the desire of the soul. The intelligence is the plan-making faculty of the human mind. So that assumes that the intelligence has a plan to make. Who determines or what determines what plans the intelligence is given? The soul, by desire. So it depends on what is our desire. If I think, I want people to think that I'm really smart, then I'm going to use lots of big words, quote 1 million shlokas from the scriptures, memorize all these passages and expressions and stuff and try to sound really intelligent. But what is real intelligence? Real intelligence is knowing how to make a plan that is successful. So let's say I want to serve Krishna, I want to overcome the 10 offenses. First of all, I have to understand how to overcome the 10 offenses. Simply trying to force my mind not to think certain thoughts is not a successful strategy for overcoming the 10 offenses. If we look in the scripture, we find in several places the cure for offensive mentality is to chant the holy name. Because the holy name is the purifying agent. If our mind has offensive thoughts in it, that means it's impure. So simply by trying to force our mind not to think a particular thought is not going to purify it. Just like, let's say I'm addicted to a certain sinful activity. If I try to force myself not to do that sinful activity, I'm just going to wind up obsessing over it and thinking about it more and more. Well, that's not a successful strategy to stop my sinful acts. Just like there's a discussion between Prahlad Maharaj and I think it's Narada, where he's saying that, it's Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami during the story of Prahlad Maharaj and his father. He's saying, how is it that a person can perform penance Penance means I did something wrong, I'm sorry, now I want forgiveness, so I'm going to do some service, or I'm going to restrict myself from some activity that I enjoy, or something like that. That's penance. How is it that a person can perform penance and then go back to committing the same sinful activity again, just like they were before? And Shukadev Goswami says, well, the act of the sin is fruitive activity. Fruitive means I'm doing this to get some result in the future. Like I go to work because I want to get paid. Or let's put it on sinful activity. I have illicit sex life because I want to enjoy my senses. Okay? I'm doing this to get that. But penance is also a fruitive activity. Why? Because it's the same thing. I'm doing this to get that. I'm doing this austerity or this sacrifice or this mantra or this ceremony or whatever it is to get free from the sinful reaction from the bad stuff that I did in the past. So penance is also a fruitive activity. How can it nullify this other fruitive activity of performing sins? It can't. It can't, because it's on the same level. To nullify the desire to perform sins, I have to have an activity, a purifying activity on a higher level. In other words, I have to give up, somehow or other, the desire seed that's in my heart that forces me or influences me to perform those sinful activities in the first place. Just trying to counteract it on the level of the mind is not going to work. So one has to change his desire from enjoying the senses to enjoying spiritual things. We cannot change our nature. Our nature is to try to enjoy. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and we're all little particles of him. So our nature is also to enjoy. But Krishna has no desire to enjoy matter. That's the difference. Krishna only wants to enjoy his internal energy. So our mistake then is in desiring to enjoy Krishna's external energy, his illusory energy, instead of his real eternal internal energy. So when we change our desire, then we can change our thoughts and change our activity. The problem is our desire is wrong. Our desire is wrong. How do we change our desire? Well, that's like asking, how do I want chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla? You have to train yourself. Nobody can do this for you. No spiritual master, no scripture, no religious process or spiritual process. You have to want it. You have to desire it. When you understand the importance, or when you realize the actual spiritual position, you will automatically change your desire. It comes through intelligence. When you can understand by intelligence what is the actual position, what is the actual situation, you'll automatically change your desire. Because then you will see the consequences of desiring material things is very bad. You have to take another body in this material world. You have to go through gestation and birth and childhood, and then you have to get old and die and go again through the process of birth. You know, maybe you commit some sinful activity and you have to go to hell. You know, it's horrible. Or almost as bad, you commit some pious activity and you have to go to heaven. Well, why do I say that's so bad? Because in heaven, just like why is hell bad? Because in hell there's so much suffering, you can't think of God. You can't think of anything. It's just suffering. Similarly, in the spiritual, in the heavenly planets, there's so much enjoyment. All you can think of is how much fun you're having. You can't think of God. You can't make any spiritual progress. You come back here, and then you're just where you were when you left off. You haven't gained anything. So, the real solution is to understand by intelligence the consequences of sinful activity. To understand, actually, the consequences of any material activity. Because sinful activities are generally in the mode of passion and ignorance. And pious activities are generally in the mode of goodness. But even if you perform pious activities in the mode of goodness, you still have to come back to this world, take another body to receive the results of those activities. So in a sense, there's no difference between pious and sinful activities in that they both require us to take another material body. We don't want to do that. We want to go to the spiritual world.